Good morning everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be starting a new project which is going to be my ideas book. So my plan is to take this book, which is super thick and it's quite large, it's probably 9 by 7 by the look of it, and I'm going to turn it into a book of ideas. Now this is a fishing book, you can see from all the tackle and fish, but it doesn't really matter what book you use. So if you want to follow along, this is going to have several parts to it, and I can't tell you how many at the moment because I don't know how many ideas I've got, but there's going to be probably quite a few, which is why I've chosen a really big book. So what do you need? You need a book, and then I think this is how I'm going to do it anyway. I've got some cards, so you can choose any sort of card. I've got little ones, I've got these little ones, you just get these from the stationery shop. They're blank on the back and they've got writing on the front. I've also, you could use an index card, you could use a library card, that would look quite cute, but I'm going to stick with the small card because of the bulk, because it's going to be bulky enough without then adding all sorts of size cards into it. So I had a thought of how I might do this. Now I could alphabetize it, so I could start with, you know, the A's and then like the B's for belly bands and P for pocket and try and alphabetize it. However, I think that that might be difficult because I don't know how many of each I'm going to have. So my plan is to do an index in the back of the book with the page numbers on it. So I'll show you more of that later. But the first thing I need to do, because I have already started pulling pages out of this book for something else, I need to reinforce the pages. You can see here that I've pulled that out, and I just want to make sure that the book isn't going to fall apart. So that's not too bad there. But I've got some other places like here where I've exposed the spine, and I need to make sure that's not going to fall apart. So I've got this, which is a wide tape. I don't know, it's called, I call it my book binding tape, but whether it's actually is, I think it is, but I don't have the packet anymore. It's just Express It. So you could go and have a look, and it's probably 1.5 inches wide, maybe 1 3/4. So I'm going to start by just tidying up this end here. It's quite difficult to work with because it's thick and it's sticky. So that's what the only problems that I've found with it. I don't want my book to fall apart. I want my book to retain its structure as I work through all these different ideas. So I'm going to put this in here just to reinforce the bit that goes in here. Now you might be wondering, what am I going to do now? I've got a big white piece of tape on the page, and I'll show you that in a moment. Let's try and get this off here first. Maybe I'd be better off using my scissors. I just didn't think I could get in there with my scissors. As I said, this tape, it doesn't rip, unfortunately, which I guess that's why it's made. It's not meant to rip, but sometimes that's frustrating because then I can't get it to cut properly. That's okay, that's not too bad. So now I've got that bit reinforced, I'm going to glue these two pages together. For the centerpiece here, I think I need to use my Helmers because it's plastic, the tape, and I don't think that the blue glue will cut it to do that. So everything else seems to be fine at the moment. The only issue I may have is here, and I definitely don't want this to come apart from the book, so I will put another piece down here before I get going, because I've taken something out of there as well. I was actually planning on using this book to create a big journal, but then I've been wanting to do this, and I have kind of done something like this before with my Grand Hotel book journal, but I just thought I wanted to do something that was a bit more how I want it to be. Okay, so what do we need? Well, I need several pages at the back to put indexes in, I know that, but I'm actually going to just start at the front and work my way through. I will have to remove some pages because otherwise the book isn't going to sit together. So I've already got those ones that I've removed for now, and I will look for somewhere else that I can safely remove some pages without it coming apart. So taking out a whole signature rather than just a piece. So here's a whole signature here, and I think I'll take this out as a starting point. Just cutting this cotton or the linen thread or whatever they've used to bind this with. It's probably bookbinding thread. And then I should be able to pull this signature out without the book falling apart, because each of the signatures is stitched in independently. That's why when you go through the book you have to always cut the different ones separately when you're pulling the books apart, if you've done that. Okay, make sure I've got these, and then there'll always be a page when you're done that is kind of attached to the next page, so that's going to come out. So just gently work through and see which ones are going to come out. Now this is the one, I don't know if you can see that, but that's in there, that signature, but that's actually the one that's attached to the next signature, and you can tell because here, let me just get my knife, here in the top of the book, is that in focus? Yeah. This page here is in the previous signature, but you can see there's about 1 millimetre where it's attached to the page on the next signature. So that's the one that has to stay, because if you take that one out, then you're compromising the integrity of the spine of the book. Okay, so that's pretty good. So let's just look at what I've got here. Somebody's been drawing on that page. Might just take this. I think I can safely take this one out. Yep, that's come out. And I think I'll just do some pages, and I'll take the pages out as I go through. I will start with B for belly band. So the first step is to put something on to this page, because I don't want that just to be a book page on which I put a belly band. I think that that's going to be that's probably not going to look that nice, is it, if I just stick that on? But equally, I don't want something that is too heavy, because if I put a piece of scrapbooking paper on each page in the book, it's going to be that big that it's just not going to work. So I'm thinking I might have to get out some of my digital prints, so I'll put those in instead. So I'm going to start with a digital. So I'm just going to put something down on the page to cover up this book page. I will leave some of it exposed, but not for this first one. And unfortunately I don't have a lot of digitals in my kits that are portraits. So I'm going to have to fix that, because I've just gone through them and realised that a lot of them are landscape. And I might have to make some more digitals today that are portraits so I can use them. We'll see how we go. I'm just going to tear. And I really should have put this up higher. I'm just lining the books up with each other, the page and the book page. Oh, I managed to do that, but if I'd known better, I would have put it up a bit higher so it wasn't that, as difficult to tear, but it was actually pretty good in the end. Let's get this one. I tore the B up, I know, but it's a digital. I can always print it again. And then because I need brown edges, and now I've got white edges, I need to grab my inking tool and ink the edges. This is going to be a reference book. So it's not going to be something I journal in, it's just going to be for reference. Now I've put a piece of that digital across there and it's turning very easily, no problem at all, because I've left probably 1 millimetre where it's not on right up to the spine of the book. So let's go. One of them's going to be a belly band. Now I could make new things, but because I'm showing you the technique of creating the book rather than the technique of how to make everything, which I've already done in the past, then I'm going to just use some of my pre-made ephemera. But what I'm going to do is I will link the different videos to the description below. So if you want to see how I made the things I'm using, you'll be able to click on that and go have a look. Now I'm going to put my index card in here with the instructions on it. And because of that, I don't want it to fall out. So it's a bit loose at the moment, as they tend to be, unless you put something thicker in them. So my thought is that I will pull this up a bit and I will put more glue underneath so I've got less space here, and that way it will hold the index card a lot better. So I've got space to there and probably some up here too. So now I'm going to take my pen. So this is a Copic multi-liner, black, and it's a 1.0 pigment ink. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to put on here what I've made. So this might be a long process and a little bit tedious, but I think if you want an ideas book, well, this is how I'm doing mine so that you won't forget your ideas, because sometimes I make things and then I forget that I've made that thing, and then I find it and think, oh, look at that, I think I'll make it again. So let's put some things. I'm going to start with the title on here. Now, if I had a smaller card, I'd just have to write some less instructions. So I'm not sure what size cards I want to use yet, but in this instance I'm going to go with the index card. And the other thing is that I've got hundreds of these things, because for some reason when I go to the stationery shop I buy them because they must attract me. I don't know, but I've always got little cards, and I just opened the box and when I'd forgotten how many cards I had, so I need to use some as well. So I'm going to start with the title, which is belly band, and then I'm going to put a subcategory which is horizontal. No, vertical. That's a vertical one. Vertical. Okay. And then I would then go through and write how you know, different ways that I've created that. Okay, so that's probably not much on there, but I'm not going to bore you by sitting here and writing how I created that, because you can go and look at the video link that I've got. And now what I'm going to do this time is go to the next page, and I'm going to do a Rita Donnelly flip. So I just need to fold this in half, and then I'm going to get one of these smaller cards off here, and I want to put something on top of it. I wanted to decorate it up and then put the writing. I can decorate this side actually. So my first step will to be right on here what it is. So it's a Rita Donnelly flip. And you create it by using a 4" by 4" paper. Fold diagonally. And then stick into the corner of a page, two sides only, and then flip up to right, plus you've got a pocket. Okay, so I've just done that as a sample of the types of things that I would write on here. That's just for your, you know, information, but I'm going to turn this into a tag now. I'm going to use the back of this for my paper rather than the front. Keep it nice and clean because I've already got an image on my Rita Donnelly flips, so that's fine. So I'll put some of the seam binding on here. I'm just going to repunch this hole. It'll be smaller than the original, but it looks fine. And then a little bit of seam binding on top, just so I've got something that's a bit, you know, nicer than just sitting there with that. So I've created that into a tag or a piece. Now, because I want to create it into an actual tag, I'm going to clip the corners, just that little bit. It's not going to get in the way of the actual information that's on here, but under here I'm going to put that as a tip. So that's going to be another thing that I need to put in my index. And then of course I have to add a paper doll. Let's see which one looks nice. I quite like this little girl. She's not going to cover all of that stripy bit, which I really like that she's not going to do that because I like that stripy paper that I'm using. Okay, so I've got that in there like that. Flip it up. So that is that bit done now. So I've only got 2 done. That's not very many, is it? But anyway, let's move to the index, okay? Back here in the back, I want to make sure I leave plenty of room for an index, even if I end up taking some of those pages out later. And what I've done is I've numbered the pages. So I'm just going to hand number them. I would put something on there and I could put something over the top, but I just don't know how many numbers I'm going to have. So I don't know, you know, what thing I would use. So I could print something and put it on. Maybe that's an idea. Now that's a bit floppy because it's got that tag on it. So I'm actually going to put some page on there to strengthen it a little bit. I found a piece of paper and I will glue it on. Now the other thing I'll mention, because you're probably wondering why I'm not using both sides of the page, is that I'm only using the right hand page. And the reason is that that's just me. I don't like to use the left hand page. Even in a notebook and things, I don't use the page that's on this side. Don't ask why, it's just an OCD thing, I think. I just don't like using that side. I'm right-handed too, and I like to write on the firm surface. Just my own little quirk, that is. So I've strengthened that. You can see now it'll turn really easily. And I've got this beautiful picture in here at the same time. So now number 3 is going to be a couple of things. So I'm going to start with a piece of this digital, one of my digitals. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I cut some paper before. I'm going to make a little pocket down the bottom here, and I'm going to notch it, definitely. Grab my tool and measure in the middle of it. I'm also going to make this into a little tag and use some more of that seam binding. Now I'm not going to repeat that, you know, this is another example of that because I've already got it once, and this is really like a reminder rather than, you know, a full thing. Say if you had a recipe book where you'd put, you know, lamb stew and you'd done 5 recipes at different spots on lamb stew, then you would include them all. But in this instance, it's really just for an ideas and reminder and memory book. It's also good because I'll have something that I've got all my stuff in one place, all my different things I've made or samples of what I've made, because often I give them away or sell them, and it's nice to actually have something that I've made. So there you go. So we need to write a couple of things on the tag, which is going to sit in here like that. But I'm also going to include my Polaroid picture that I made the other day. So I just think that this is too cool. So I think that's it for now. yeah, okay. I will be back and I'll be doing some more on this, maybe not tomorrow, but certainly I'll be working through the book, and if you want to work along with me, please do, and I hope that you'll join me, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much, everyone. This is Deborah. Cheers.